How to interpret astral experiences or dreams. In the self-knowledge course that we have transmitted through this page, we have been talking about the astral projection or astral unfolding, and we have talked about how important it is that every day we take a moment when we wake up to remember and interpret what we lived in the astral plane. Since through these experiences we receive constant guidance from our inner being, answers to various questions that we ask and things that we investigate astrally, as well as warnings about things that are going to happen to us during the next day or even later. But since most of the information that we receive through the astral plane, we receive it through symbolism. Recently, we published on the page a link where you can download for free the guide for the interpretation of dreams or astral experiences, where you are going to find most of the symbols that we commonly see in the astral plane. Also, I'm going to leave the link in the first comment of this video. And I also wanted to make this short video explaining how astral experiences or dreams should be interpreted with the use of this guide. Here I'm going to show you how the guide looks like. There you can see this is the guide, and you can see it is divided into sections such as the meanings of the elements or the metals or the natural phenomena that you can see in a dream, if it is during the day, or if it is I don't know, during the night, or if you are in the desert, or if you are, I don't know, in in an earthquake, whatever. Also, you're going to find the meanings of the planets, of the buildings, the plants, the animals, the different animals, some objects, colors, vehicles, food, people, clothing, actions, etc. Even here, you are going to find the meaning of the parts of the body. And at the end, you're going to find the arcana or the meaning of the numbers according to the meaning of the 21 major arcana of Kabbalah. And it is important to review this guide and gradually learn these meanings, because they will be very useful when interpreting the information that we receive in the astral world. Let's see that we know that there are three types of dreams. One are the unconscious dreams, and the other ones are the semi-conscious dreams and the conscious dreams. And give me a second, let me put this here. The unconscious dreams are the majority, those in which we have no idea that we find ourselves within a dream, that we are dreaming. And the semi-conscious ones, also known as lucid dreams, are those in which the person becomes aware of being in a dream, but cannot control this at will, cannot direct himself at will, and doesn't see things very clearly, that is, with a lot of objectivity. And there is a third type of dreams that are the conscious ones, also known as conscious astral unfolding. And regardless of the type of dream, it is important to interpret them. No matter how absurd we think the dream is, it has an important meaning. Of course, the ideal is that we make constant efforts to awaken our consciousness during the day, that through the practice of the three factors that we teach in the self-knowledge course. and that every time when we go to sleep, we do the practice to go out conscious to the astral plane, because the information that we receive consciously will always be clearer and will be more reliable. Now, the experiences we have in the astral can also be of two types. They can be direct or they can be symbolic. The direct experiences are the ones in which we receive the information or the answer that we need directly. And we don't have to interpret the information received because it is totally clear. But it turns out that this happens the least part of the time, since the most used language in the higher dimensions is a much richer language than the one that we know on this plane, and it is a language of symbols. For this reason, most of the experiences that we have and most of the responses that we receive are through symbols. And here the importance of learning to interpret and developing the faculty of intuition that develops as we practice the right thinking, that is keeping the mind silent so that the wisdom of consciousness is manifested directly in our heart. And once we have woken up and we have remembered the experience lived in the dream or in the conscious astral projection, the ideal is to take note of the experience and to look in the guide for the meaning of the different symbols that we saw. That if we dream of such an animal or such a person or in such a place, or if it was night, or if it was raining, or if we were doing this or that, we take note of every detail and look for its meaning in the guide. Then we must know that the astral experiences can be interpreted by philosophical analogies, that is, by similarity or contrary. They can also be interpreted by analogy of opposites and by Kabbalah. Although these names seem confusing, you'll see that it is very simple. And let's see the first. The experiences can be interpreted by philosophical analogies, and they can be interpreted by similarity. These are the astral experiences or dreams in which what happens in the experience happens to us directly. So, similarity experiences have to do with situations that happen to ourselves in the world of dreams, or situations that one is directly seeing or experiencing in the astral. For example, a recurring dream of many people is to dream of dirty waters. So, if we see in the guide, water represents our sexual energy. So when we see dirty waters in the astral, or that we are bathing in dirty waters, is being shown to us that our sexual energy is contaminated. Another example, say that we dream that some lions come to attack us. It is something that is happening to us in the dream, so it is interpreted by similarity. If we see in the guide, the lions represents a divine law that is in charge of charging the karmic debts. And in this experience, it would be showing us that the divine law is going to charge us a karma. That is, that a pain or an illness comes to us as a result of some mistake that we made. And it is important to understand that this is shown to us so that we transcend it. So that's how all the experiences in which something is happening to us, that we see ourselves doing something or making a mistake in a dream, will be analyzed. The experiences are very personal, and we must pay attention to intuition, to that we feel in relation to the experience and analyze the experience both internally and externally. For example, if we have, let's say, a motorcycle and we dream falling off the motorcycle, internally the motorcycle represents the balance with our sexual potency. So if we have this dream, we must be careful during our supersex practice so we don't have a sexual fall, but we will also have external caution when reading the motorcycle. So there you know. And the second way to interpret our dreams or astral experiences is by contrary. And this shows us that all the mistakes that we see in the astral that other people make is because we are making them. Since we have to understand that we unfold towards our own psychology, and everything we see in others in the astral is only a reflection of our interior. This means that if we see the neighbor in dreams being unfaithful to his wife, they are not talking us about the neighbor, but about the adulterous thoughts, feelings, and actions that we are having or that we are about to have. So all the mistakes that we see that others make in the astral, we must take it for ourselves. Let's take an example. Let's say that in a dream, I go to the house of a friend named Michael, and the house is very messy. And I say, well, Michael should tidy up the house since he has free time. And then I wake up and I say, wow, what a strange dream. Yeah, that Michael guy has always been very messy. And no, actually, what is being shown to me in that experience is that my house, which is my inner world, is messy. And one very wisely says that since I have free time, I should make an order. And how do I put order within myself? Well, by meditating, by working on myself. And that is why my being is telling me, since every time we speak with wisdom in the astral, it is actually the wisdom of the Father that manifests itself in us to give us a teaching. And he is telling me very wisely that I should make an order. And we also can see the name Michael, which has 7 letters. And we see in the guide that the 7 represents the order. And that like reinforces the teaching that we have received in that experiences. So when we see someone making a mistake, it is for us to work on it, to use it as a mirror. If we work it on ourselves and that comes to really happen externally with that person, for example, that actually we come to see the neighbor being unfaithful to his wife, because yes, it may happen that it turns out that what we saw in the astral happens physically. As we have already worked that on ourselves, we will have an understanding about it that will help us not to fall into criticizing or judging the other person. So to make it clear to us, when something is happening to us directly in the astral, it is an experience by similarity. And when I see that something happens to someone else or someone else is making a mistake, that is something that I must interpret by contrary. That is something that I must observe in my psychology and work on it. And the other way to interpret the astral experiences is by analogy of opposites. And this teaches us that many times there are things that mean the opposite. For example, when we eat, we see ourselves eating sweets in a dream, it means that bitterness comes to us. And also, the analogy of opposites is related to reverse psychology. When it is about mistakes that we make that are too obvious, but that we don't fall for reason. In those cases, when they tell us no, it is yes, and when they tell us yes, it is no. It is going to occur with situations in which it is only like to use common sense. In these experiences, when they tell us, for example, don't do it, by opposite, they would otherwise be saying don't do it. And if they say don't do it, they are saying and if they say do it, they are saying don't do it. But these are things that we come to immediately feel in our hearts. An example that we could use would be the case of a person who is very hooked on drugs and has had many mishaps in his life due to this matter, but receives this knowledge and begins to practice and goes consciously to the astral world and asks his divine mother if he must stop using drugs to advance in his spiritual path. And his divine mother answers, no, at all. That doesn't affect you or cause you problems, but at all. That is actually the last thing that you have to work on. The person immediately, intuitively feels that he is being told, by analogies of opposites, that he should stop consuming, that this defect affects him a lot on the spiritual path, and that it brings him many problems, and therefore it is the first thing he has to work on. They give us these experiences, so we receive like a shock, and we immediately feel in our hearts what they are actually telling us. And I explain this because these experiences really do happen, and it is for us to use common sense in mistakes that we are making and that are very obvious but that we don't want to correct. And the fourth and last aspect to interpret the dreams or astral experiences is by Kabbalah. Here we are going to find the 22 major arcana of the Kabbalah. There you can see it in the guide. And this this you're going to use it to interpret the numbers that you find in the dreams. For example, let's see. The first thing is that many times they are going to show us a number directly. For example, that in the astral they show you or you see the number 10. Then that is something that you just go to the guide and see what is the meaning of the number 10, which represents the recurrence, something that is repeated. In this case, a situation that has been happening existence after existence, and mistake that we are repeating existence after existence, and that now will be repeated. So they are warning you about it, so we can like resolve that. Or another thing that the 10 represents is the retribution. That would be something that you go to win or to receive like a payment for having done some work or some service to humanity. So you are going to determine that according to what you see in the experience, the other elements in the experience. Or if, for example, we dream of a number greater than 22, for example, that we dream with the number 461, then what we do in that case is that we add the numbers. We add 4 plus 6 plus 1, that is 11. And we see that 11 represents in the guide the tamed lion, that is the law in favor. What would be indicating to us that the divine law is in our favor in the matter that we are requiring, or in or that thing in which all the experience is related about. But also we can have the feeling of continue adding the numbers. Like for example, we have 11 and we can add 1 plus 1, that is equal to. Then we go to the guide and find what is the meaning of number 2. If when adding a number, still give us an amount greater than 22, what we do is that we also continue adding it until we have a number that is less than 22, and we look for it in the guide. And we are also going to use Kabbalah with the name of people we dream about. For example, if my friend Diego comes and tells me that I'm, I don't know, complicated by a payment that I must make, it must represent, as Diego has 5 letters, and as I said before, the Arcanum 5 represents the hierarchy, the law, the divine law. It's representing that the law is letting me know that I'm about to be charged. It's something similar to the thing of the lion. And it is important to know that we are going to take the name by which we usually call the person. Since, for example, if my friend is called Michael, but I always call him Mike, I have to take my Kabbalah as Mike. That it would be 4 letters. Unless that I directly in the astral experience, I have called him Michael. In that case, I'm going to count 7 letters. And we are also going to take by Kabbalah the places, the countries' names, the streets, the addresses, and the time. If, for example, we dream that we are going to France, that we count that France has 6 letters. And we see that 6 is related in the Kabbalah to love or indecision. There we already see where the experience is going. And we'll do the same with the addresses. For example, if we go down street 347, we are going to add those numbers. And we are also going to count the numbers of letters on the street names. All these give us lots of guide in relation to the information that we are receiving in the dream or conscious astral experience. And the same if we have dream where we see a specific time. For example, that we see that it is, 12:08. So what we do there is that we add 1 plus 2 plus 0 plus 8, which is 11. And this will help us to know the context of the experience that they are showing us, or the meaning of the answer that we are receiving in the form of numbers. Because sometimes you ask something and they just show you a number. And another thing that we must take by Kabbalah is the the number of things, the amount of things. For example, bread represents wisdom. And if you are receiving 2 breads, you are about to receive some wisdom in relation to your couple, as the number 2 represents the couple. And well, I think at this point you might be thinking that there are too many things to interpret. But what do we do when in a dream there are like many things? So there are many aspects to interpret. Well, what you're going to do is you're going to take first the place, like the atmosphere. If it is daytime, if it is night, there it is telling you something. In the guide, you can see the meaning of it. Where are you? If at home, if in a supermarket, if at an airport, if at another country or another planet, all this gives us a reference to the teaching that we are receiving in the dream. So if you know the name of the place, you will take it by Kabbalah. Then you are going to interpret all the symbols and the actions that you see, and you are going to look for their meaning in the guide. And you are also going to take the names of the people you saw in the experience. Let's give a short example. Let's say that we find ourselves in a dream in France. We know now that 6 letters, love or indecision. And we are walking on the 10th street. And we know that now that the 10 is the recurrence. And we see that a man lets loose some dogs. And if we see in the guide, the dogs represent the lost. And these dogs bite a woman's left leg. And if we see in the parts of the body, the left leg represents our will. Then we would clearly see that they are talking us about a recurrence. A recurrence is coming in which our lost is going to be like moved, excited, and it is going to bend our wheel. Perhaps we will, I don't know, we have been doing our internal work, and by this recurrence we will face like an indecision, which is the number 6, perhaps in relation to love, whether or not to be unfaithful to our partner, for example. So if we interpret it and we are pending to this, when we see that a new co-worker arrives who moves us a lot by lust, and with whom we can easily fall into being unfaithful to our partner, we will be aware that they already show us that in the astral, and that it is a recurrence that is coming to us. And as we'll be working all that lost, all of those emotions, sensations, thoughts to transcend that recurrence, we will avoid making that mistake and affecting our will and our relationship. Actually, at the beginning, this could be confusing or we may find it hard. But actually, when we start making the effort, we will be developing the ability to interpret all those symbols with ease. Our inner being needs us to develop the ability to analyze, to relate, to reflect, which will be very useful in our inner work, in the study of our psychological eyes, because when that intuitive ability to relate and to reflect like develops, those secret threads that unite one way of being with another are more easily found during meditation. And now to finish, what are we gonna do if we don't find the meaning of a symbol in the guide? Because that can happen. What we are going to do is that we are going to relate it according to its function. But what is it for? What are their characteristics? Or how does it act? And we are going to make a analogical relationship. For example, if we dream with a carpet, and carpet is not in the, carpet or rug is not in the guide. So what is the carpet for? It is for cleaning our shoes. And if you look in the guide, you're going to find the shoes represents our spiritual path. So what we are experiencing there in that astral experience is that we are receiving help to clean our spiritual path. Or let's say that we dream of a bird, and in the guide the birds are not specifically there. However, we see that the birds move in the air, and we see in the guide that the air represents the mind. So when we see birds in the astral, we are seeing eyes, psychological defects, or parts of our consciousness related to the mind. But we must bear in mind that for an animal in the astral to represent a part of our being, it has to be an extremely beautiful animal. If it is an ugly or a common animal, it is representing a psychological defect. And also, you take by Kevlar the amount of them. And well, this has been actually all the information that I wanted to bring you, and I hope it will be very useful for you to start interpreting your dreams and astral experiences. I am available to help you with any question that you have, and I take the opportunity to invite you to the free self-knowledge course that we are transmitting every week through this page, Transcendental Knowledge. So thank you very much for watching the video. Bye bye.